Hey y'all, we are now on the Dark Ages, Europe and Africa. This is still a part of chapter 4. Now I'm writing notes on chapter 5, and then I will be posting all of the notes. I'm trying to learn. Okay, I am technologically illiterate. I think I've said this before. I handwrite my notes. So my goal is to be able to figure out how to put it into a PDF. But my only problem is that if I put it into a PDF, I don't want it to be out of order. So I'm trying to figure that out. But my goal is to put it onto Discord so that it can be downloaded. But anyways, chapter 4, the Dark Ages, Europe and Africa. After the dissolution of Roman administration in the 5th century AD, knowledge of either... Oh, wait, let me go to the notes of it, because I probably put something in here. Oh, wait a second. 3 seconds. Oh, it's going to be in this one. Oh, I had to get a whole new notebook. But it's not that many pages, so... Because I tore out a bunch. Let me just open it up. Knowledge of either the ancient African period or of more contemporary periods began to dissipate dramatically among European peoples. For Europeans beyond the Mediterranean, it had never been extensive. Beyond the Mediterranean, it had never been extensive. In any case, restricted largely to those privy to state affairs and those few engaged in the quite sparse literary traditions. In Western Europe, its peoples isolated from the centers of civilization by geography, the rigors of transhumanence and resettlement, the absence of urban centers and the lateness of their development, the subsequent dominance of the Mediterranean area by Muslim peoples proved to be catastrophic for their knowledge of peoples beyond the eastern fringes of the European peninsula. As one example, in the mid-13th century, Bartholomew Angelicus observed with unjustifiable certainty, and here's the quote, Ethiopia, blue men's land, had first that name of color of men, for the sun is nigh and roasteth and toasteth them. What? He said they're black because they was roasted and toasted by the sun. That's what he said. And so the color of men sloweth the strength of the star, and for there is considerable heat. In this land be many nations with divers faces, wanderly and horribly shaper. What? Okay, this is mid-13th century writing, so I guess that's just how they be writing. Oh. That was so far. Sorry. There be two Ethiopias, one in the east and the other in Mauritania. I don't know how to pronounce that. Mauretania. Let's look it up. Mauritania. Okay.
Mauritania.
That's how it's pronounced. Mauritania. Excuse me. Okay, per Mauritania in the west, and that is more near Spain. And then is Namid Namidia and the province of Carthage. Then in Getula, and at last against the course of the sun is the land that is the height Ethiopia. Adusta, burnt in fables tell that there beyond the antipodes men that have their feet against our feet. The ancient civilizations of the Old World in Asia as well as Africa became legends, preserved most constantly in the obscure and recondite histories of biblical narrative. As knowledge became more and more a monastic preserve, secular reconstructions assumed a certain rarity due to the Church's commitment to the interpretation of history in accord with its perceptions of divine will. Ethnocentrism, legitimated by the authorities of church and ignorance, the two foundations of medieval knowledge became the basis for world knowledge. I feel like that is one of the most important sentences of this part. How ethnocentrism, legitimated by the authorities of church and ignorance, the two foundations of medieval knowledge, became the basis for world knowledge. And think about how that translates to now, with how ethnocentrism translates. I'll say this, okay, there is this situation on TikTok about Yuval and how his first response to Madison was steeped in ethnocentrism. Blah 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 blah. But that's like a current. Like sometimes it's easier for me to like memorize things when I connect information to current events or current examples that I'm like, oh, okay, got it, got it. You know what I mean? So like that. Ultimately, with the evolution, oh, that was like his first response, but then he like corrected himself and recognized where he was wrong. Blah 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 blah. Yada yada yada. Ultimately, with the evolution of Christian ideology into a worldview, it was enough to know that mankind was divisible into two collectives, the army of light and the army of darkness. And that army of light, army of darkness is goes into Manichean thinking. Hold up, where are my notes at? It's okay. It's too far. But the Manichean thinking, like religion was used as a way to like rationalize racism, and they said that like black people were the people, like Africans were the children of darkness, the army of darkness, right? And how the devil was used to like demonize black people and demonize African, well, black and African. Sorry, I had to resituate myself because I, whatever. Um, it's really interesting, like how this fundament, like how you can see how these social constructions have translated over time, even now to this day with Palestine, and how the people of Palestine have been seen as the children, the army of darkness, and that's that same ideology that constitutes them as barbarious and this and the third, that was used against Africans, that was used against black people in America and in the New World. And it's interesting to see that it's these foundations are, you can be traced back to medieval times in Europe. And then that same ideology was used against Irish people, I believe. But anyways, we'll keep going. But that's a really important point. So I'm gonna make a little note because that will go in my TikTok when I make it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Whether men whether okay, there's like a quote. whether men wrote of an imperium Christianum, a regionum Europaea, or later of a societal Christiana, there was the same impulse to separate the known securities of the inside from the dark and threatening forces of paganism, heresy, and schism that which lay beyond the perimeter. Okay, paganism. Isn't it interesting? Okay, I want to look up what heresy means because I feel like I have a sense of what it means, but I don't want to be wrong. Belief and opinion contrary to orthodox religious doctrine, especially Christian. Okay. So, you know how like paganism, okay. It's raining. Sorry. I will definitely in the future read a couple things from this one class I took, Black Philosophy, Ritual, and Religion. But this really good book called Black Magic, African American. Let me get it up. Black Magic by Yvonne Choureau. There's like a whole title to it. Let's see. Black Magic, Religion, and the African American Conjuring Tradition by Yvonne P. Choureau. So it talks about how like that one doesn't specifically get into paganism, but it talks about how African or Black American or Black traditions, not even Black American, because Blackness transcends the American boundaries, how it was seen as like devil work, devil worship, this and the third, and that includes paganism. And then I want that to be connected to like the Salem witch trials. I mean, no, those women were burned just because they was women, but like before that, prior to the Salem witch trials, Black women were being killed based off of their healing work that could be connected to paganism, which was not really practice, but you know, people would use herbs and roots to heal themselves. And oh my god, sorry, that will be another video another time, but it's really interesting. Europe was God's world. Girl, this is such an interesting part. I'll definitely make a TikTok about this, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it for TikTok. Wait. Let me highlight this, sorry, on my notes. Europe was God's world. Focus of divine attention. See that? Okay, listen. Europe was God's world. The focus of divine attention, the focus of divine attention. The rest of mankind belonged to the monument of Satan. And think about that. Think about how that like translates to now. And how, you know what I mean? Like these same themes of Satan and this has been used against marginalized groups, oppressed groups, to justify the enslavement, to justify a genocide, to justify imprisonment, to justify oppression. Oh, well, it's Satan, so we're going to justify the oppression against marginalized groups. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting, like, to see the way that these ideologies, these these ideology transcend, like, continues throughout time. For perhaps 1,000 years or more, Western European world historical consciousness was transformed into theosophy. Let's look that up, excuse me. Theosophy is a religious and philosophical system established in the United States in the late 19th century, founded primarily, this is from Wikipedia. Okay, it draws heavily from both older European philosophies such as Gnosticism and, oh my god, okay, sorry, and Napoleonism. And Indian religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism. Let's look up another one. Theosophy. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. But they have the Ma'at symbol in it. Do you see? In the middle? Oh. I didn't look at the top. Oh, I'm sorry. There is no religion higher than truth. Okay, per. But yeah, that's so cool that they have the Ma'at symbol. They have all the symbols. Knowledge of the divine wisdom gives access to the mysteries of nature and humankind's inner essence. That's really cool. I feel like, okay, I'm saying it's really cool just based off of what I'm seeing like right now. I hope that I don't eat my words if I find out that they're like horrible. One of them symbols, I'm like, what the heck? Demonology and mythology. Okay, let me read that sentence. For perhaps 1,000 years or more, Western European historical consciousness was transformed into theosophy, demonology, and mythology. And indeed, in a most profound sense, European notions of history, both theological and pseudo-theological, negated the possibility of the true existence of earlier civilizations. This is talking about like the rewriting of shit, of stuff, of history. I don't know what I'm about to say. And then, sorry, the perfectibility of mankind, the eschatological vision, precluded the possibility of pre-Christian civilization having achieved any remarkable development in moral law, social organization, or natural history, in parentheses, science. That's really interesting. Like, even with like ancient Egypt, the way that ancient Egypt has been degraded to like, oh, this, that, and the third, or oh, it's aliens that built the pyramids. You don't think black people can do that? Right, weirdos. But anyways, sorry. For 600 years more, Cassiodorus' 6th century prescription for putting the devil and his work to flight held sway over medieval education and knowledge. And here's the quote. Okay. Let us who sincerely long to enter heaven through intellectual excursions believe that God disposes all things in accordance with his will, and let us reject and condemn the vanities of the present life and carefully investigate the book of the divine scriptures for their normal order, so that by referring all things to the glory of the Creator, we may profitably assign to the celestial mysteries that which those men have seemed to seek vainly for the sake of moral praise. And therefore, as the blessed Augustine and other very learned fathers say, secular writings should not be spurned. It is proper, however, as the scripture states, to mediate in the divine law day and night. For though a worthy knowledge of some matters is occasionally obtained from secular writings, this law is the source of eternal life. Interesting. Okay, next part is Islam, Africa, and Europe.